Hi ladies, it's Mr. O'Sullivan. Today we're going to be finishing our final lesson with solving equations. And as I mentioned last week, this is our final day, and it will be sort of our more challenging examples. So we're going to have distribution on both sides, and some examples we're going to have some combining like terms on both sides, and we're going to be dealing with a lot of negative numbers. All right. So today's learning target is I can solve an equation by using the PCV&A technique. And just so we can go over the procedure one more time, our P stands for parentheses. We get rid of this by distribution. And the questions that we want you to think about are, do I have parentheses? How do I get rid of them? C stands for combine your like terms, only one part of the equal signs at a time. The questions that we have to ask ourselves, do I have numbers that I can combine, and do I have variables that I can combine? The V stands for variables on the left-hand side. Questions to ask, do I have addition or do I have subtraction? Because you have to do the inverse operations. The N stands for numbers on the right-hand side of the equal, so questions again, addition or subtraction. And then the A stands for attached number to your x you get rid of by dividing. And the question you're going to ask yourself is, what number do I divide by? And again, you divide 99.9% of the time. So here we have our model problem, and the model problem was 38 plus 7k equals 8 times k plus 4. I distributed my 8 to my k and my 4 to get 8k plus 32. That was my P stage. I realized I couldn't combine anything, so I went on to the V stage where I had to get my 8k to the left-hand side. To get my 8k to the left-hand side, I subtracted it from both sides of my equation. And then I had 38 minus 1k equals 32. I need to get my 38 to the right-hand side, so I subtracted the 38 from both sides. And then I got negative 1k equals negative 6. And then I divided both sides by negative 1 to get k equals 6. Okay? So let's do some examples. And again, everything we're doing is going to be in relation to PCV&A. So I'm going to write it down here. So PCV&A. Part 1, I have to ask myself, do I have parentheses? So my equation was negative 2 times 6x plus 14 minus 2x equals 3 times 2 plus x. I do have parentheses, so I'm going to distribute my negative 2 to my 6x and my negative 2 to my 14. Negative 2 times 6x is negative 12x. Negative 2 times a positive 14 is a minus 28. And then I have minus 2x. And I'm done with my parentheses on the left-hand side. I now have to ask myself, do I have parentheses on the right side of my equation? And I do. So I'm going to distribute my 3 to my 2 and my 3 to my x. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then 3 times x is 3x. So I have no more parentheses, so I can simply check off my P. Now I have to ask myself, can I combine like terms? So again, we only combine one side at a time. So I have to ask myself, can I combine anything with a negative 12x? I can combine it with negative 2x. So I do negative 12x minus 2x, and that will give me negative 14x. And then I just rewrite my minus 28 because there's nothing to combine it with. And then I have to ask myself, can I combine my 6 and my 3x? And I don't think I can, so I'm just going to rewrite 6 plus 3x. So now I have to ask myself, are all my variables on the left-hand side? Well, I look at the right-hand side of my equal, and I have a 3x. And it's being added, so I have to get rid of my positive 3x by subtracting. So I'm going to subtract a 3x from both sides of my equation. My 3x's cancel. Negative 14x minus, not plus, negative 14x minus 3x is negative 17x. And then I have my minus 28, and that's equal to 6. All of my variables are on the left-hand side. I have to ask myself, how do I get rid of my minus 28? Because I want to get rid of all my numbers. And to get rid of a minus, I add. So I'm going to add 28 to both sides of my equal. My 28's cancel, and I get negative 17x equals 6 plus 28, which is 34. And now I have to ask myself, how do I get rid of my negative 17 that's being multiplied? And it's by division. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 17. When dividing, I get x equals negative 2. And that's your final answer. Let's go on to our next equation. So I have 6w minus 2w plus 4 equals 4. I rewrite PCVNA. And here's what we're going to do. In front of our parentheses, we don't see a number, so we're going to put a 1 here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute this -1 to each term on the inside of my parentheses. So I'm going to distribute my -1 to my 2w and my -1 to my 4. So step 1 says, do I have parentheses? I do, and I said we're distributing a -1. So my new equation is going to be 6w. -1 times 2w is -2w. And then -1 times 4 is a -4. And that's all equal to 4. I have to ask myself, are my parentheses gone? You betcha. Part 2 says, can I combine my like terms? So, can I combine a 6w and a 2w? Yes, I can. 6w minus 2w is 4w. So I have 4w minus 4 equals 4. I combined my like terms. Are all of my variables on the left-hand side of my equal? Yes, they are. All my w's are on the left-hand side. I now have to ask myself, can I get all my numbers to the right-hand side? Yes, I can. I have to get rid of my -4. So to do that, I add 4 to both sides. My 4's cancel, and I get 4w equals 8. So all my numbers are on the right-hand side, and now I need to get rid of the number attached to my w. So to do that, I divide by 4. And I get w equals 2 as my final answer. Let's go on to number 3. What I'm going to ask is that you actually do the distribution for this one by yourself. So when we do our setup, we have our PCVNA, so we have PCVNA. We have to ask ourselves, do we have parentheses? And we do. So this is where I'm going to ask that you do your distribution by yourself and compare with what I have. When you did your distribution, you should have gotten 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times a -1x is -4x. And then I have my plus 3x, and that's equal to -2x minus 2. So now that my parentheses are gone, I can cross off the P stage of my PCVNA. The C stands for combine like terms, so I have to ask myself, x's with x's, numbers with numbers. Can I combine anything? Yes, I can. I can combine my -4x and my 3x. I have to ask myself what -4x plus 3x is, and it's a -1x. So I'm really dealing with 4 minus 1x equals -2x minus 2. Because I can't combine a -2x and a -2. Now I need to get all of my variables to the left-hand side. So I have to ask myself, how do I get rid of a -2x? The only way to get rid of subtraction is to add. So I'm going to add 2x, add 2x. My 2x's cancel. So -1x plus 2x is 1x. So I have 4 plus 1x equals -2. You don't have to write this one. I just did it as a reminder. So now all of my variables are on the left-hand side, and now I need to get all my numbers to the right-hand side. So I have to ask myself, how do I get this 4 over here? It's positive, so I have to subtract it. So I'm going to subtract a 4 from both sides. -4, -4. 4's cancel. -2 minus 4 is -6. So x equals -6. And that's your final answer. Try to do this example totally by yourself. When solving this equation, you should have gotten x equals 3 as your final answer. There were no parentheses, so I couldn't distribute. There were no terms to combine, so I couldn't do that. So I had to go to the stage where I have to move all my variables to the left-hand side. I had to ask myself, how do I get rid of a positive 7x? Well, to get rid of a positive 7x, I subtract 7x from both sides. -4x minus 7x is -11x. So I ended up getting 10 minus 11x equals -23. I then had to ask myself, how do I get rid of my 10? And bring it to the right-hand side. And I subtracted it. So -23 minus 10 is -33, so I ended up getting -11x equals -33. And then I divided both sides by a -11 to get x equals 3. And that's your final answer. So ladies, here's what your next step is. you need to complete a Delta Math assignment on solving equations. It's going to be a mixture. It's going to have some 2-step, some 3-step, and then some distribution. Again, if you have any questions, you can email myself, Miss Townsend, or Miss Jimenez. Have a great, great day.